Well, as we typically roll into March, climatology suggests severe weather threats will be increasing, and that's exactly what we see here as we move into the middle of the month is significant severe weather as a big winter storm moves across the northern tier with a big blizzard, and the wildfire risk increases as well with strong winds over the dry soil, creating the potential for significant wildfires and the potential for flash flooding on the wet side. So we are seeing a lot of dynamics here coming together into the middle of March. So let me take care of the weather forecast for you and you sit back and watch here. Subscribe to the channel, follow along with all my detailed, accurate, and reliable weather information here on YouTube simply by subscribing to the channel here. Also like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media, especially if you do find it informative and detailed. And since severe weather is in the forecast, make sure to share this video with as many people as possible so they are informed on this upcoming storm. Let's look here at our temperatures because our temperatures are going to be soaring into spring-like territory east of the Rockies as we go through the remainder of this week. Probably already noticed it just a couple of days ago walking outside. If you are one that does walk the dog or likes to go outside in the springtime to enjoy the warmer temperatures, this is the week for you. And even some record highs will be possible across the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley region as we go through the remainder of this week, especially by Thursday and by Friday. Cooler air towards the Intermountain West and the West Coast. That's how we have a lot of active weather with the trough coming in. That's our big storm system, and that could bring a lot of cooler air with a lot more cloud cover and a lot more precipitation going through the week. So let's get into the nuts and bolts here of the forecast. We are watching a trough here as we go through today. This is entering into Southern California and Arizona. This is our kicker system. This is going to be moving out across the Four Corners region, Texas, and the lower Mississippi Valley. Once we get into tomorrow there on Wednesday, March 12th, this could spawn some severe weather down here into places like Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana here as we go into Wednesday, and then maybe severe weather further east into Dixie Alley, especially for Mississippi, Alabama on Thursday, March 13th. So let's look at that. Today we have no chance for severe weather, just some garden variety storms across southern portions of California near San Diego, stretching east into central southern Arizona, places like Surprise, Arizona, Phoenix over here as well. And then looking here as we go through the afternoon, you can see those garden variety storms starting to billow up there across Southern California. Those will push more on shore with some more significant moisture for San Diego as we go into this evening. So expect some heavier rains to come about this, maybe some lightning, and some lightning could also be with its own right dangerous as well with any type of thunderstorm. Over here into Phoenix, we'll see more of that heavier rain moving in overnight, maybe some heavier mountain snow near Flagstaff or thereabout in northern Arizona as we go into Wednesday morning, and then that could shift into western New Mexico with some snow in the mountains there as well. Now we are going to see that system strengthen a bit as it moves across the lower Mississippi Valley tomorrow on Wednesday, March 12th, and then Thursday, March 13th. We do have a slight risk of severe weather in the yellow here around northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, southwest Arkansas, and extreme northwest Louisiana. Texarkana included here, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, especially east of I-35, and over here towards Shreveport, Louisiana, is in that risk. So we have the potential for seeing a tornado or two, damaging winds, and some pretty large hail with this setup as well. And we see the setup as it is. You have a big dry line here that is displacing the drier air to the west behind the dry line. Dew points are in the single digits in the teens. And then ahead of the dry line, moist air from the Gulf lifting north here into the east Texas region, southeast Oklahoma, into Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. A lot of these dew points will be well into the 50s, if not low 60s out here, and that will create an atmosphere with a lot of storm energy. You can see the instability up over 1,000 joules per kilogram, and we definitely have the potential for some rotating thunderstorms. This is your significant tornado parameter space. The higher the number, the higher the chance for severe weather, and notice that number is a 6 or 7 out of 10, so pretty high here across eastern Texas as we go into tomorrow afternoon, and then maybe even getting a little higher into southwestern Arkansas and East Texas as we go into tomorrow evening. So that number could increase to 8 out of 10 by that point. Here's what the radar will look like. This is Wednesday daybreak. You can see as you're heading off to work or school, pretty quiet out there. We're moistening up the atmosphere, getting it ripe and ready for some severe weather potential. And then as we go into midday, notice still pretty quiet out here. Notice probably around midday, if you're looking out the window at your school or your work, you're probably seeing the cumulus clouds starting to get a little bit taller out there, and that is going to lead to the potential for some thunderstorms as the air begins to lift. And then we break that cap potentially late afternoon, more so around sunset when the atmosphere naturally cools. That's where we start to uncap the atmosphere. That's where we're going to start to see some scattered thunderstorms develop, and they could develop and produce a lot of wind here. We could get a bow echo to develop down here across southeastern Oklahoma, northeast Texas, and those bow echoes push that rain forward almost like a backward C shape, and that could give you a quick burst of 60, perhaps 70 mile per hour winds in that slight risk area, and that will be more into the Razorback state of Arkansas. A little bit more capped further south. We'll see if storms can develop into Louisiana, but there is a potential there. That's why the Storm Prediction Center has that risk area. All this shifts east as we go into Thursday, into eastern Mississippi, into Alabama. This includes the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and Montgomery metroplexes on Thursday, March 13th. Isolated brief tornado. Biggest threats here will be wind and hail. This is just kind of a continuation of our thunderstorms Wednesday overnight into Thursday morning, and they could reinvigorate as they move across eastern Mississippi and into Alabama there on Thursday. Here comes our big system, though. Notice it's up in the Northeast Pacific as we go into this afternoon, Tuesday, March 11th. As we go into tomorrow afternoon, it's going to make its way onshore of California, and it's a pretty big trough out here as well, and that's our big system we're watching as we go into Thursday, and then it takes a negative tilt as it moves from the central high plains up into the upper Midwest. A lot of dynamics with this system here, and a lot of warm air out ahead of it, so a lot of instability building, especially with southward extent, and moisture building as well. Now, with northward extent, we're not going to have as much moisture or instability, but a lot of wind shear with this storm, so we're going to keep an eye on that. Before we get to that point, the storm's going to be bringing in a lot of moisture to the west coast. Notice here on Tuesday, there's our kicker system moving across today and into Wednesday. Notice Wednesday afternoon, we're starting to get that moisture with that parent trough, that big trough that's in the Northeast Pacific, moving onshore, bringing some heavier snows into portions of the Sierras, heavy coastal rains for California and for the foothills on Wednesday. That'll continue Wednesday night, and that'll push a little bit further south. So it'll start up in Northern California and Oregon, and then it's going to shift further south into central and eventually southern California, and then more inland from there. So Nevada, Idaho, Utah, Arizona going to get in the mix there, especially by Thursday and Friday, bringing some pretty hefty snow from Salt Lake City down into the northern areas there of Arizona and into portions of Colorado and New Mexico, as well as Wyoming. So a lot of areas are going to be feasting off the snow here as we go into the late week portion of this week. So we're looking here at some very heavy rainfall. Rainfall near the coast could be anywhere from 1 to 3 inches, and the foothill region, so watch out for some mudslides. This goes through Friday, March 14th. Heavy snows for the Sierras, potentially approaching 3 to 4 feet here, especially the higher elevation that you go. Few to several inches of snow across a lot of the Intermountain West states like Idaho, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, there into western Montana, western Colorado, New Mexico, and into Arizona, especially northern New Mexico, northern Arizona getting the recipient of that snowfall. And then we watch what happens downstream. We got a big storm system, deepening a low pressure system, what we call a bomb cyclone that really just develops here on the lee side of the Rockies. This already deepens as soon as it develops, literally a few hours later, from a 990 millibar low all the way down to around a 980 millibar low. And then you can see that kick out across the plains, still continuing to strengthen around 974, 975 millibars. And a strong low pressure system is going to pull that moisture from the Gulf northward like a vacuum as the low pressure is spinning with the winds counterclockwise, pulling up that moisture, pulling in the dry air from the west as well, and creating some wildfire risks across the dry areas of New Mexico and West Texas. So let's look at the storm as we know it. Here comes across the west. We got some Intermountain West snow, some heavier rain, and you can see it kick across the Rockies as we go into Friday. Big setup for severe weather here in the middle of the country. We got some snow on the backside, maybe an ice storm threat as well, and then just some dry air, dry winds on the backside, and then a flash flooding threat on the eastern flanks of the system. And by the way, the flash flooding threat will be enhanced from the Ohio River south to the Gulf Coast, including northwest Florida, an area that has just got hit a few days ago with some heavy rainfall. Could see around 2 to 4 inches of rain here and already saturated soil, so this could cause some flash flooding problems. And then it's with the wind, a strong low pressure system sub 980 millibars is going to pull in some very strong winds here on the southern and eastern flank of this low as that wind really evolves evolves across eastern New Mexico, could be gusting over 70, 80 miles an hour here in the open areas of New Mexico, into the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma. So areas down here could also see power outages, as well as a wildfire risk that could be very significant at the end of this week. Now, we are looking at the potential for significant severe weather as a multi-day severe weather outbreak evolves Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Here's the Friday threat. We have an enhanced risk in orange. That's a 3 out of 5, stretching from central Illinois all the way down into portions of Missouri, western Kentucky and Tennessee, northwest Mississippi and eastern Arkansas. Slight risk, by the way, 2 out of 5 in the yellow, extending all the way up there to Rochester, Minnesota, La Crosse, Wisconsin, and all the way south here, all the way down to the Baton Rouge area, Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa there on Friday. Let's go through Friday. See, morning hours, very quiet. The system's going to be wrapping in a little bit of moisture. Northward extent, though, the moisture is going to be a little bit more limited, but a lot more kinematics and wind shear to overcome the lack of moisture, and that could give us a very strong squall line here with it. Widespread wind damage. We could be seeing some winds over 70 miles an hour perhaps here, some large hail, and some spin-up tornadoes as well. The tornado environment is definitely going to be evolving more toward the mid-Mississippi Valley as we go into Friday evening with a continuing intense squall line. And then as it outruns the instability and gets pinched off with the moist sector here, it's going to start to weaken those storms as they push into the Ohio Valley. Here's Saturday. This is March 15th. We have another enhanced risk in orange stretching from Chattanooga all the way back here toward Laurel, Meridian, Mississippi, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, Atlanta Metro, all the way down toward Panama City. Slight risk level 2 out of 5 extending from Lake Erie all the way back to the Gulf Coast. So a lot of areas here are going to be impacted by severe weather on Saturday. And all modes of severe weather are in play. Tornadoes, some strong, especially in that enhanced orange area that we showed you, 3 out of 5. And then we have the potential for widespread wind damage again and hail. Notice how widespread those storms are Saturday afternoon and evening. And then going into Sunday, it doesn't stop there either, right? This is Sunday, March 16th. We have a level 2 out of 5 in the slight risk from the Delmarva, southeast Pennsylvania, including the Poconos, Jersey, all the way down into North Florida here. So a lot of areas in play, such as the Tallahassee region, Raleigh, Columbia, all the way up to Washington, D.C., Trenton, and also Baltimore. So a lot of areas impacted as we go into Sunday. Same deal, Sunday morning, isolated storms. They'll billow up again in the afternoon. I think the southern side of this, the Carolinas, Southeast Virginia, Georgia, North Florida, has better instability, better moisture, and wind shear combined for more of a widespread mode of severe weather. A little bit further north, up there toward Pennsylvania and Jersey and Maryland, a little bit more isolated because of the lack of wind shear and also the lack of some moisture and instability. Now let's look at the cold side. Yes, well, this is a multifaceted storm. Going to have a lot of cold air with it as well. A lot of snowfall up here toward the Dakotas, especially Minnesota, and then an ice storm. Notice the pinks up here, especially for Ontario. Could be seeing a pretty damaging ice storm with this as the ice lifts all the way up toward the Hudson Bay by Sunday morning. Snow accumulations, what you're going to see with your naked eye on the ground is going to be just a few inches, but some very strong winds wrapping around on the northwest side of this low could cause some whiteout conditions at times across the eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, and Iowa, and then heavier snows up there toward Ontario. And by the way, a damaging and potentially crippling ice storm where we could see upwards of 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of ice up here in portions of Minnesota, especially northern and western Minnesota into Ontario, up toward Hudson Bay and central northern Quebec. So that is something we'll watch as we go through the weekend. Heading into next week, almost looks like a pattern reload, right? We have colder air out to the west, we have warmer air out to the east, almost synoptically the same as what we have this week, and we could be seeing another stronger storm system moving across the United States from west to east through that third week there of March, and that could bring some heavy rain, severe weather from the Gulf Coast as far north as the Ohio River, and then on the cold side could be seeing more wintry weather impacts from heavy snow, potential blizzard conditions depending on how strong that storm could get, and also some more ice impacts as well. So it's something to watch here. Again, don't put the snow boots, snow gear away across the upper Midwest and the upper Great Lakes, especially not even into southeastern Canada. For Ontario, Quebec, your winter's not over. We're still going to be seeing some snow and ice impacts even into next week. Yes, wow, breathe a sigh of relief. That was a lot of information, folks, and you know where to go for information here on Weather on the Go. Every single day we post these videos, so make sure to subscribe to my channel for the reliable, accurate weather information here on YouTube. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, especially if you found it informative and detailed for you. We'll continue to keep you covered right outside your door with the weather forecast here on this channel. And also share this channel with friends, family, and on social media. Share this video, because the more people that are aware of severe weather and flash flooding and all these impacts, the better, because they are more aware of the impacts. They know how to prepare for the impacts as we go forward into this weekend, but also here forward throughout, April, May, and June, and all the other months to come. So that's all the weather I got for you folks today. Have a wonderful and safe rest of your Tuesday out there.